What up, though? This story right here finna have y'all scratching your heads like, what the Feezzyy? Bill trying to go back to prison?
Alright, you kids get to bed, I get the storybook.
Bill Feezzyy's brothers, Evil Folks, and Yuri Escape. As nightfall ascended on the gloomy State Prison in Waycross, Georgia, inmate Yuri's day ended like any other, with the monotony of prison life grinding on as inmates could be heard outside his cell's door watching TV, thunderously yelling after a rookie wide receiver scored a touchdown for the Atlanta Falcons. Mere moments after finishing a secret YouTube live stream with his GD bro Bill Feezzyy from his contraband cell phone, he stashed the device under his lumpy prison pillow. A sudden knock at the cell door startled him. "Pack it up, Yuri," a jet black skinny officer barked. "You're transferring." Yuri frowned. He hadn't caused any trouble lately, at least none the officers knew about. "Where the hell y'all sending me?" he asked the officer. "Augusta," the guard replied gruffly. The mention of Augusta State Medical Prison jogged Yuri's memory. Months earlier, he'd complained about painful lumps in his chest, where state prison's doctors had brushed it off but eventually scheduled him for a transfer to a facility with better medical care. Now, the time had come. The bus ride was long and uneventful, except for when some college-aged girls flashed their perky C-cups from a convertible Chevy Camaro, giving Yuri and his fellow prisoners an eyeful of nipples. He couldn't shake the feeling of foreboding, like something was going down when he got there. When Yuri arrived at Augusta State Medical Prison, he was processed in intake and had to go through all of the demeaning crap that inmates were taken through, like stripping naked and being made to spread their cheeks so officers could look up in them and make sure they weren't trying to smuggle in contraband. Afterwards, the new arrivals were escorted to their new dorms. The air was thick with tension, and the faint scent of antiseptic lingered in the halls. As the dorm's door where Yuri was sent open, the 5'7" gangster froze in his tracks. Sitting on the bottom bunk, 3 beds down from his, was a man he hadn't seen in years. "Evil Folks." Yuri's voice cracked with disbelief. The small man turned slowly, his movements unnervingly stiff. His face was eerily rigid, his eyes sunken yet glinting with a strange, unearthly light. "Yuri," Evil Folks rasped, a faint smirk on his lips. "Where the hell you been, Folks?" Yuri was dumbfounded. Evil Folks had been a legend among their circle, a relentless murderer in the Georgia Gangster Disciples organization. But the last Yuri had heard, Evil Folks was dead slain by 2 fellow GDs at Valdosta State Prison. C-Bill was in the same dorm at the time and gave him the whole rundown, but then he remembered that Feezzyy had mentioned that Evil had come back to life, sort of like a zombie, but he dismissed that as bullshit. "Are you serious?" "What you mean, where I been? You don't remember when I had to pop that Crip nigga and got sent to the TIR program for 4 years? Anyway, they said them niggas popped you Evil Folks," Yuri stammered. Evil Folks chuckled, the sound hollow and eerie. "I guess they lied." The 2 gangsters spent the rest of that evening catching up on old times and meeting up with other gangster disciples in the dorm. Over the following days, Yuri couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong with Evil Folks. He moved differently, spoke in cryptic phrases, and had an unsettling habit of staring into space for hours at a time. Curious and more than a little concerned, Yuri started asking around the dorm. He pulled aside another inmate, D-Lo, who had been at Augusta for a while. "What's up with my bro, Evil Folks?" Yuri asked. D-Lo's expression darkened. "You don't know? Know what? Folks got taken out in Valdosta. 2 of y'all brothers poured him out, left him for dead. But the mortician, he did some wild experiment shit with him, used chemicals or something, brought your folks back to life like in a scary movie. But he ain't the same. That ain't the man you remember, Yuri. That's something else." Yuri looked at him unbelievably, saying he wasn't disputing that a few times before walking away. If you haven't seen the G.K. David movie story titled The Return of Evil Folks, then hit the link pinned in the comments to catch up. Yuri couldn't believe what he was hearing. Could Evil Folks truly be some kind of zombie nigga? The idea seemed ridiculous, but the evidence was piling up. Meanwhile, Yuri's contacts with the outside world, including his GD brother Bill Feezzyy, kept him grounded. Bill had been keeping in contact with Yuri since his release back in 2022 and offered as much support as he could, sending him money and doing YouTube lives with him. A week later, as Yuri sat on the edge of his bottom bunk in the warehouse-style dorm, the next night the plan unfolded. Evil Folks skipped his meds for 2 days, his transformation becoming apparent. His skin took on a pale, ashen hue, and his muscles swelled unnaturally. When the officers came to do their rounds, Evil Folks launched himself at them with terrifying speed and strength, snapping necks and tearing through bodies like paper. Yuri followed in his wake, grabbing the keys and weapons from the fallen officers. They moved swiftly, leaving a trail of carnage behind them. By the time they reached the prison parking lot, alarms blared and chaos reigned. Evil Folks ripped the door off one of the first 2 officers' lifted Dodge Ram truck, and Yuri slid into the driver's seat. With a screech of tires, they roared off into the night, the prison lights fading in the rearview mirror. After driving the 2 hours to the Atlanta area where they decided they would steal another car, Yuri made a desperate call to Bill Feezzyy, who he remembered lived in Douglasville, Georgia, close by the city. Yuri begged him for a place to lay low because he jumped in panic mode every time they passed an Atlanta PD patrol unit. Feezzyy, we need a spot. Just for a little while. I swear we won't bring trouble to you, though. We just need to get another ride and we going down to Mexico. Feezzyy sighed, the weight of the request heavy in his voice. He tried coming up with excuse after excuse, but Yuri would counter each one with the words, "I ain't disputing that," before begging again until his friend relented.
Okay, Yuri, but y'all better not make me regret this shit, folks.
Feezzy's 1-bedroom apartment quickly became a war zone of bad smells and horrible manners. Evil Folks, still in half-zombie, had a malfunctioning digestive system that produced grotesque zombie farts that resembled rotting cats. The frigid winter air outside forced Feezzyy to choose between freezing with the windows open or suffocating in the stench.
Yo, Evil,
Feezzyy snapped one day, waving a Febreze can.
you gotta do something about that smell, man. You killing me.
Evil Folks shrugged, gnawing on a raw chicken leg. My bad, see, Bill. I just can't stop it. 2 weeks in, Feezzy's patience wore thin. The final straw came when he saw a breaking news report on TV. The broadcast showed the mugshots of Yuri and Evil Folks, with the announcer offering a $90,000 reward for information leading to their capture. Feezzy's eyes widened as he calculated the possibilities. That kind of money could change his life. Later that night, while Evil Folks was taking out the trash, he pulled Yuri aside.
Look, man,
Feezzyy began.
and this ain't working. Evil's a damn menace, and I'm risking everything for y'all. But I got an idea. What if I turn him in, collect the reward money, and split it with you? You can take your half and get to Mexico. Start fresh.
Yuri hesitated, torn between loyalty and self-preservation. Finally, he nodded. All right, Feezzyy, let's do it. But you better make it clean. The plan was set. Feezzyy called the authorities the next morning after sending Yuri to a nearby hotel to lay low, feeding them just enough information to lure them to his apartment. When the SWAT team stormed in, Evil Folks, who was still asleep, put up a fight, his zombie strength on full display. But sheer numbers overwhelmed him, and he was subdued and taken into custody. Feezzyy collected the reward money that afternoon. True to his word, he handed Yuri a duffel bag stuffed with cash.
Here's your cut. Now get your ass out of here before them folks start asking questions.
Yuri didn't waste a second. He slipped out the back door and disappeared into the night, heading south toward the Mexican border in a Kia Optima he had hotwired a day before and the promise of a new life. As he drove, he couldn't help but think of Evil Folks left behind to face whatever fate awaited him. But Yuri knew one thing for sure, he was never looking back.